Amara stood in the school assembly at St. Anne's College, Lagos, her old uniform neatly ironed but a little faded. The students were singing the national anthem, their voices blending in harmony under the bright morning sun. She tried to focus, but her heart beat fast. Something felt different about today. When the anthem ended, the principal, Mr. Adewale, stepped forward with a microphone in his hand. His voice was calm but full of pride. "Amara Okeke, please step forward," he said. A wave of whispers moved through the crowd. Amara's hands trembled slightly as she walked to the front. Everyone was watching her, some smiling, others curious. Mr. Adewale smiled warmly. "This young lady has made St. Anne's proud. She scored the highest marks in the entire school and has earned a full scholarship to study medicine at a federal university." The students burst into applause. Amara's eyes filled with tears of joy. She bowed slightly, her heart swelling with pride. It was the moment she had dreamed of, the reward for all her late-night studying and sacrifices. But the happiness did not last. The loud creak of the school gate broke the applause. A man's angry voice echoed through the courtyard. "Amara! Amara Okeke!" Everyone turned. It was Chief Okeke, her father. His face was hard, his eyes blazing. He marched straight toward the assembly ground, his steps heavy and full of authority. The crowd fell silent. He stopped beside Amara, glaring at her and then at the principal. "There will be no university," he shouted. "My daughter is done with school." Gasps filled the air. Teachers looked at each other in shock. Mr. Adewale tried to speak. "Sir, please, she has earned this through hard work. You should be proud." But Chief Okeke cut him off. "Proud? Of wasting money on a girl who should be learning to keep a home? Education won't feed this family." Amara stood frozen, her eyes wide, her body trembling. Her friends stared in disbelief. "Baba, please," she whispered, but before she could say more, he grabbed her wrist roughly. "Enough," he barked. "You're coming home now." He pulled her away as the crowd watched helplessly. Mr. Adewale called after him, but Chief Okeke didn't stop. Tears streamed down Amara's face. She turned her head one last time, seeing her principal standing still, looking heartbroken. The tears that had once lifted her spirit were now replaced by silence and shame. The dream she had worked for, gone in a single moment. The injustice was too heavy to bear. Every student felt it in their hearts. Every teacher saw it in her eyes. As her father dragged her through the gate, Amara's tears fell onto the dusty ground. The same ground where her dreams had just been crushed in front of the entire school. At home. Chief Okeke sat on a wooden chair in the middle of the small living room. His voice was loud and firm as he spoke. "Education won't feed this family," he said, hitting the armrest with his hand. "A girl's place is to support her husband, not chase degrees." Amara stood near the doorway, her eyes red from crying. Her mother, Ngozi, stood quietly beside the kitchen table, her face full of sadness but too afraid to speak. "Papa, please," Amara said softly. "I can help the family if I become a doctor. The scholarship will pay for everything." But her father raised his hand sharply. "Enough. I said no more school. You will marry Mr. Obinna. He is ready to help this family. He will pay for your brother's education. That is what matters." Amara felt her knees grow weak. Mr. Obinna was a rich widower, old enough to be her father. The thought of being his wife filled her with fear. She looked at her mother, hoping for support, but Ngozi only looked down, unable to meet her eyes. Chief Okeke stood up. "You think books will put food on the table? I need a daughter who brings respect, not shame." He turned and walked out, leaving the house in heavy silence. Amara sat down slowly, her eyes full of tears. Her mother came closer, holding her hand gently. "My child," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Sometimes we do not choose our path. Your father only wants what he thinks is best." Amara pulled her hand away. "He wants what's best for himself, not for me." Her voice cracked as she spoke. "Mama, I worked so hard for this. I studied every night while everyone slept. I believed it would change our lives." Her mind went back to all those nights under the flickering candlelight, the sound of crickets outside, her books spread across the small wooden table. She remembered her father's snores from the next room while she solved equations and memorized biology notes. She remembered selling vegetables with her mother in the hot sun before running to school. Her school shoes covered in dust but her spirit full of hope. And the day she received her scholarship letter, how she danced, laughed, and hugged her brother Chike. She had believed everything was finally going to be okay. Now that dream had been taken away. That night, Amara lay on her mat in the dark room, her eyes open and wet with tears. The sound of the night insects outside seemed louder than ever. Suddenly, the door creaked open. Her little brother Chike tiptoed in. He was only 12 but had the same spark in his eyes that Amara once had. "Amara," he whispered, sitting beside her. "Don't cry." She wiped her tears quickly and forced a smile. "I'm fine, Chike." He shook his head. "No, you're not. But one day, I'll make them see you deserve more. I promise." Amara pulled him into a hug, holding him tightly. "You're the only one who believes in me," she whispered. "I'll always believe in you," he said, resting his head on her shoulder. Outside their room, Ngozi sat quietly in the living room listening. Her heart ached, but she didn't have the courage to stand up to her husband. She wanted to protect her daughter, but fear kept her silent. The next morning, Amara didn't go to school. Her uniform hung on the wall, clean and pressed, waiting for her, but she just stared at it with empty eyes. At St. Anne's College, her desk sat empty. Her classmates whispered about her absence, their faces full of sadness and confusion. Mr. Adewale, the principal, walked into the classroom and paused when he saw the empty seat. He stared at it for a long time, his chest heavy with guilt. He wished he had done more to protect her that day. Every morning after that, he found his eyes drifting toward that same desk, the one that used to shine with Amara's determination. Days passed, but the classroom didn't feel the same without her. The girl who once filled it with quiet brilliance and hope was now trapped in a world that refused to see her worth. And somewhere in that same house, Amara sat by the window, her heart full of dreams she was not allowed to chase, yet she still held on to a small spark of hope, the same spark that refused to die. 2 weeks later, Amara was gone. No one knew where she went or what had happened. The small town buzzed with whispers. Some people said she ran away to the city. Others claimed she had already been married off in secret. Her parents told anyone who asked that she had gone to live with her aunt in the village. But even that story didn't sound true. Her mother's face looked tired and her eyes often filled with tears. At St. Anne's College, the news spread quickly. Students talked about her between classes, and teachers exchanged worried glances. Her empty desk in the classroom had become a painful reminder of a bright future cut short. One hot afternoon, while Mr. Adewale sat in his office finishing some papers, the school security guard knocked on the door. "Sir," the guard said, holding out a brown envelope, "this came for you." Mr. Adewale took it. His heart skipped a beat when he saw the handwriting. It was Amara's. Her name was written neatly in the corner. He quickly opened it. Inside was a short handwritten letter and a brown folder. His hands trembled slightly as he began to read. The letter said, "Dear Mr. Adewale, thank you for always believing in me, even when others didn't. I wanted to do something that would make you proud, even if I could never come back to school. Please keep these with you. They are a part of who I am and what I worked for. With respect, Amara Okeke." Tears welled up in the principal's eyes as he read her words. He carefully opened the brown folder. Inside were pages filled with Amara's handwriting, science fair essays, project notes, and certificates from competitions. Then he saw something else, a printed email and an official document from a government office. His eyes widened as he read it. It was a notification letter from the National Youth Science and Innovation Program. It said that Amara's project proposal on affordable rural health care had won the National Innovation Contest. His hands shook. She had entered the contest secretly, without telling anyone. The letter also said she had been chosen for an international youth medical program in Kenya, fully sponsored, with travel and study support. Amara didn't even know she had won. Mr. Adewale sat back in his chair, speechless. The girl her father had called useless had achieved something extraordinary, something the entire nation would be proud of. He looked again at the line in her letter. "I wanted to make you proud." A lump formed in his throat. "Oh, Amara," he whispered softly. "You already have." He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, students were laughing and talking, unaware of the treasure that had just landed in his hands. For a moment, he imagined what could have been. Amara walking across a university campus, wearing her white lab coat, smiling with the confidence she had always dreamed of. But that dream was now hidden away by fear and tradition. He knew what he had to do. He folded the letter carefully, placed it back in the envelope, and looked toward the school gate where Amara's father had once shouted in anger. No, he whispered to himself, his voice firm now. This story will not end like this. The world must know what she has done. He picked up the phone and began to make calls, to the education board, to the NGO workers he knew, and to his colleagues. The principal of St. Anne's College had made a decision. Amara's brilliance, her courage, and her story would not be buried in silence. Mr. Adewale went to the Okeke home early one morning. He carried the brown folder carefully under his arm, the one that held Amara's award letter and certificates. His heart was heavy but full of hope. Maybe, if her father saw the truth with his own eyes, he would change his mind. When he arrived, Amara's mother, Ngozi, opened the door. She looked tired, her face pale from worry. Good morning, madam, he greeted kindly. I need to speak with Chief Okeke. It's very important, about Amara. Before she could answer, a deep, angry voice came from inside. There's nothing to talk about, Chief Okeke barked as he stepped into view. If it's about that girl, save your breath. Sir, please, Mr. Adewale began softly. You need to see this. He held out the folder. Your daughter has achieved something great. She won a national competition. The government wants to honor her. She's been chosen for an international youth medical program in Kenya. It's a full scholarship. But Chief Okeke cut him off with a loud laugh. Nonsense. Whatever award she won is useless. She's a woman. Her duty is marriage, not flying around like a man. Sir, the principal said, trying to stay calm. You don't understand. This could change her life, and your family's life too. The whole world could know your name because of her success. I don't need fame. Chief Okeke shouted, his voice shaking with anger. I need respect. A daughter who listens, not one who disobeys her father. He pointed at the door. Leave my house, principal, before I lose my temper. Mr. Adewale's eyes softened. You're making a mistake, Chief. A big one. But before he could say more, Chief Okeke grabbed the folder and threw it to the floor. Papers scattered across the dusty floor. Amara's certificates fluttered like broken wings. Get out, Chief Okeke roared. Mr. Adewale slowly bent to pick up the papers. He looked up at Ngozi, who stood frozen, her eyes full of silent tears. She wanted to speak, but fear held her tongue. I'll still fight for her, the principal said quietly as he left. Outside, the sun was blazing, but he felt cold inside. He knew Amara's father would not help, but he also knew he couldn't give up. Meanwhile, in a small village several miles away, Amara lived with her aunt, Mama Rose. The house was small but peaceful, surrounded by tall palm trees and chirping birds. Still, Amara felt like a bird in a cage. Every few days, she would sneak out to the local internet cafe. It was a small place with rusty computers and slow internet, but it was her only window to the world she once belonged to. She checked her emails and the contest page, hoping for updates. She didn't know that she had already won, and that her principal was fighting for her. Her aunt often watched her with pity. My dear, maybe it's time to move on, Mama Rose would say gently. Your father is a hard man. You can't change him. Amara would smile weakly. I know, Auntie, but I can't stop dreaming. It's the only thing that keeps me alive. At night, she would sit outside under the stars, thinking about her classmates, about her empty seat in school, about Mr. Adewale's kind words, and about her mother's silent tears. Back in Lagos, Mr. Adewale refused to let the matter die. He went to visit Mrs. Adebayo, the director of a local NGO that supported girls' education. She listened carefully as he told her Amara's story. When he showed her the letter and certificates, her eyes widened in disbelief. This girl must not be forgotten, Mrs. Adebayo said firmly. We'll find her, and we'll make sure she gets what she earned. She immediately started a campaign. Her organization posted Amara's story online, sharing her achievements and the unfair treatment she faced. Within days, the story went viral. People across Nigeria began to talk about the brave girl who was stopped from going to school by her own father. Messages of support poured in. Journalists called the school, NGOs offered help, and strangers sent letters of encouragement. But at the Okeke home, the attention only brought more trouble. Neighbors whispered when Chief Okeke passed by. Some praised his daughter, others criticized him for his pride. One evening as he walked home, two men nearby murmured, "That's the man who stopped his daughter from going to Kenya." Chief Okeke's face burned with shame. When he reached home, he slammed the door and shouted at his wife, "This is your fault. You and that girl have brought disgrace on my head." From that day, he became even stricter. He stopped Amara's mother from writing letters. He told relatives not to speak about her. But the truth was already spreading. A few weeks later, an official letter arrived at St. Anne's College. It was from the organizers of the International Medical Program in Kenya. The letter said, "We are pleased to inform you that Miss Amara Okeke has been selected to represent Nigeria in the International Youth Medical Program in Nairobi. She must appear in person to receive her award and begin the visa process." Mr. Adewale read the letter again and again, hardly able to believe it. It was the final proof. The world wanted to celebrate the girl her father had silenced. He placed the letter carefully on his desk, then leaned back in his chair, deep in thought. "This cannot stay hidden anymore," he said to himself. "Everyone will know what she's done." Outside his office window, the school bell rang and students filled the courtyard. The same ground where Amara once stood proudly now waited for her story to return. Louder, stronger, and unstoppable. The revelation was building. The world was about to hear the name Amara Okeke again. This time, as a symbol of courage and hope. Mr. Adewale decided it was time for the truth to come out. He spent days making calls and planning carefully. Finally, he announced a special school assembly at St. Anne's College. The notice said it was to celebrate excellence. He invited local officials, journalists, parents, and community leaders. Everyone was curious, wondering which student had done something so great. Even the Okeke family received an invitation. Chief Okeke was not happy about it, but his wife Ngozi insisted they attend. "It will look bad if we don't go," she said softly. He grumbled but agreed. "Fine. But we won't stay long." On the day of the event, the school hall was filled with people. Colorful banners hung across the walls, and the students wore neat uniforms. Cameras flashed as journalists took their seats. The principal, Mr. Adewale, stood at the podium with a calm but serious look on his face. Chief Okeke and his wife sat in the front row, along with other parents. They looked around, thinking it was about another student, maybe one of the boys who scored high marks in the exams. Mr. Adewale tapped the microphone and smiled. "Good morning, everyone. Today we are here to celebrate excellence, not just in grades, but in courage, hard work, and determination." The audience clapped politely. He paused, scanning the crowd. "Today we celebrate a girl who was silenced, but whose brilliance spoke louder than any tradition." Whispers filled the hall. A few people exchanged glances, guessing who he might mean. Then the lights dimmed. A projector came on, showing a photo of Amara in her school uniform, smiling shyly, holding a science trophy. The hall went silent. Mr. Adewale continued, his voice trembling with emotion. "This is Amara Okeke. She won the National Science Innovation Contest for her project on affordable rural healthcare. And recently, she was chosen to represent Nigeria in an international medical program in Kenya." Gasps filled the room. Cameras started flashing again. Students began to cheer. Chief Okeke's face turned pale. He gripped the edge of his chair tightly, his mouth slightly open. Then Mrs. Adebayo, the NGO director, stepped onto the stage. She smiled proudly and spoke into the microphone. "The Kenyan government has offered full sponsorship and relocation for Amara Okeke to represent Nigeria on the world stage." The crowd erupted in applause. People stood on their feet, clapping and cheering. Teachers had tears in their eyes. Then from the side door, Amara walked into the hall. She wore a simple dress, her hair neatly tied back. Her aunt, Mama Rose, walked beside her. The sunlight from the window fell softly on her face. She looked nervous but calm, her eyes shining with quiet strength. For a moment, the whole room froze. Everyone turned to look at her. The girl they had thought was lost. Chief Okeke slowly rose from his chair. His lips trembled. His strong, proud voice was gone. "Amara," he whispered. I was trying to protect you." Amara looked at him, tears in her eyes. She took a small step forward and said softly, "From my dreams?" The room went silent. Even the journalists stopped taking pictures for a moment. Chief Okeke lowered his head. His hands shook. Slowly, he dropped to his knees right there in front of everyone. I was wrong, he said, his voice breaking. I was blind. Ngozi began to cry quietly beside him, covering her face with her wrapper. Amara stood still, her tears falling freely now, not from pain, but from release. Mr. Adewale walked toward her and gently placed his hand on her shoulder. You made us all proud, he said warmly. You showed that nothing can stop true talent. Not fear, not tradition, not even silence. The hall filled again with applause. Students stood up, clapping and cheering loudly. Some cried, others shouted her name. Amara! Amara! She looked around, overwhelmed by the love and pride in their faces. Her heart beat fast, but this time not with fear, with hope. Chief Okeke stayed on his knees, watching his daughter shine in front of the world. He realized that he had tried to bury a seed that was meant to grow. Amara walked toward him and gently helped him to his feet. It's okay, Papa, she said softly. You didn't destroy me. You only made me stronger. He nodded slowly, unable to speak, his eyes wet with regret. As the applause continued, Mrs. Adebayo handed Amara the official invitation letter to Kenya. The cameras flashed again, and the school hall echoed with cheers. It was not revenge Amara felt in that moment. It was justice. She stood proudly on the stage. The same girl who had once been dragged out of her school in shame, now celebrated as a hero. Everyone in that hall would remember that day. The day when one girl's courage proved that no one could silence a dream meant to shine. Weeks later, Amara prepares to leave for Kenya. The house feels heavy with emotion. Her mother, Ngozi, folds clothes into the suitcase slowly, her hands trembling. Tears fall quietly down her cheeks. Ngozi, forgive us, my daughter. We were blind. Amara takes her mother's hand gently. Amara, you taught me strength, Mama, even in silence. They hold each other tightly, neither wanting to let go. The sound of a rooster crowing outside mixes with the soft rustle of clothes being packed. Later that day, Chief Okeke walks down the dusty road carrying a small bag of yams. His face looks older, softer. The weight of his mistakes is visible in his tired eyes. He knocks on the principal's door. Mr. Adewale opens it and looks surprised. Chief Okeke doesn't meet his eyes. He places the yams on the doorstep. Chief Okeke, tell her, I'm proud. His voice breaks. He turns away before the principal can speak. At home, Ngozi watches her husband sit quietly under the mango tree. For the first time, he doesn't shout. He only stares at the sky, lost in thought, maybe wishing he could take back his words. The next morning, Amara stands at the airport with her small suitcase. Her brother, Chaik, clings to her arm. Chaik, sister, will you come back? Amara, smiling softly, one day. But until then you must study hard, Chaik. You'll finish what I started here. He nods, trying not to cry. Mr. Adewale arrives just in time to see her off. He looks proud but emotional. Amar, Adewale, you made history, Amara. Never forget, education is the loudest rebellion. Amara smiles. She looks out at the airplane waiting under the bright Lagos sun. With one last deep breath, she walks forward, steady, brave, and full of hope. As she climbs the steps to the plane, the camera follows her face, calm yet determined. She isn't just leaving home. She's stepping into the future she fought for. The one no one believed she could reach. In Kenya, Amara stands at a bright stage, facing hundreds of young scholars from all across Africa. Flags from different nations wave behind her. Cameras flash, and the audience grows silent as she begins to speak. Her voice is calm but powerful. They told me I didn't belong in school, but school never left me. It lived here. She touches her heart softly, until the world heard it. The crowd rises to their feet, clapping and cheering. Some students wipe their tears, inspired by her courage. Cut to back in Nigeria. In a small living room, the Okeke family sits around an old television. Chief Okeke watches quietly, his rough hands gripping the edge of the chair. When Amara's face fills the screen, confident, glowing, full of peace, he slowly wipes a tear from his cheek. Ngozi smiles proudly, whispering, Our daughter, she did it. Chaik cheers. That's my sister. As the applause echoes from the screen, Amara smiles through her own tears. No longer the scared girl from Lagos, but a woman who turned her pain into purpose. Hi, besties. Yellow Heart, thank you so much for watching till the end. If Amara's story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. See you in the next one. Bye. Waving hand.